Did you ever scroll through Steam for 30 minutes, add 3 games to your wish list, watch 2 trailers, read a couple reviews, and then just close the tab and boot up the same game you've been playing for 5 years? Yeah, and it's not like there are fewer games now. There are more games than ever. More platforms, more indie studios, more massive AAA releases, more remakes, more sequels, more live service updates. And yet somehow, in 2026, it feels harder than ever to actually find a game you love. So what happened? Did gaming get worse? Or did we just get older? Or is it something more subtle than that? The first thing is that when you were younger, discovery felt infinite. Think back to when you first got into gaming. It didn't matter what you played. It could have been Minecraft, Call of Duty, Skyrim, Fallout 3, Halo. Hell, some random demo disc you found in a magazine. But here's what you didn't do. You didn't evaluate the game. You didn't compare it to 20 others. You didn't think about meta, optimization, or whether it respected your time. You were just discovering, and discovery hits different when everything is new. The first open world you step into feels massive. For me, that was Oblivion. You have no idea how nostalgic this music makes me, and I remember the feeling of playing it for the first time. I don't think I've ever felt that same feeling again ever in my life. The first time you customize a character feels revolutionary. The first time you realize your choices change the outcome, the dialogue feels insane. But the problem is that you can only experience that first time once. By 2026, most of us have already explored many different open worlds, done dozens of faction quest lines, crafted hundreds of weapons, played multiple RPGs where your choices matter, and survived several post-apocalyptic wastelands. So when a new game drops and says, explore a massive world full of factions and dynamic quests, your brain goes, yeah, I've done this. Even if it's technically better. Novelty fades, familiar systems don't hit the same. And that doesn't mean the games are bad. It simply means your brain isn't 13 anymore. Moving on to the next reason. There are just too many games. In the early 2000s, you didn't have 12,000 options. You had whatever was at the store, whatever your friends had, whatever was in a magazine, and maybe one big release that month. Now, open Steam, scroll, scroll, scroll. It never ends. There are thousands of very positive rated games. Hundreds of 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 titles. So what happens when you're faced with infinite choice? You don't feel excited. You feel overwhelmed. Now, this isn't an issue just in gaming. It's Netflix. It's YouTube. It's everything. When everything is available, nothing feels urgent. Back then, if you rented a game for 3 days, you played it. And now you download something on Game Pass and quit in 45 minutes because something else is waiting. The paradox of choice kicks in. Instead of committing, you sample. Instead of immersing, you compare. Instead of getting lost, you evaluate. And evaluation kills immersion. Because if you're fully immersed in something, you can't properly and rationally evaluate it. The next reason is that we don't play the same way anymore. There's something else that changed, and I don't think we talk about it enough. Be honest with yourself. When you start a new game now in 2026, what's the first thing you do? YouTube search, best beginner build, best early weapons. Things I wish I knew before playing. Don't make these mistakes. We don't really discover games anymore. We optimize them. Think about the last time you started a big RPG. Did you just wander? Or did you Google best early game build, best perks to take first? Don't miss these 10 items. Secret legendary weapon location. Before you've even left the tutorial, you already know what the meta is. Back in the day, if you found something broken in a game, it felt like you discovered it. Now, if you're not using the strongest build, you feel inefficient. And inefficiency feels bad. Even in single-player games. That's insane when you think about it. Take Fallout 4. The first time you played it, you probably wandered into the glowing sea way too early. You probably invested in perks that weren't optimal. You probably built settlements that made absolutely no sense. And that was fun. Now, the second a new update drops, YouTube is filled with best build after patch 1.9 or how to max XP fast. We turned exploration into spreadsheets. And I'm not blaming creators, I'm one of them. But the culture shifted. Nowadays, we're solving games instead of just playing them. And once you solve something, it stops feeling magical. It becomes mechanical. When everything has a best path, curiosity dies a little. And curiosity is part of what made games feel alive when we were younger. Number 4, live service changed expectations. This is where it gets interesting. A lot of modern games are designed to retain you. Battle passes, daily objectives, seasonal rewards, limited time events, XP boosts. These systems are built around habit formation. You log in because you don't want to miss something, not necessarily because you're excited. And over time, your brain starts associating games with obligation. When you skip a week, you feel behind. When you don't finish a season, you feel like you failed something. That's not how gaming used to feel. It used to feel disposable in a good way. You could drop in, have fun, leave. Now a lot of games want commitment. And when you're older, commitment feels heavy, especially when you already have real-life responsibilities. So instead of feeling like escape, games sometimes feel like maintenance. Which brings me to the next reason. Your time feels more valuable now. When you were 14, time was infinite. You could start a 100-hour RPG and not even think about it. You didn't calculate the commitment. You didn't measure it against responsibilities. You just played. Now, you sit down at 9:30 p.m. after work. You've got maybe an hour, maybe 2 if you're lucky. You open a massive open-world RPG, and suddenly, it feels heavy. Not necessarily because the game is bad, but because it's asking for something you don't feel like you have. Energy, attention, emotional investment. Starting a game like Baldur's Gate 3 or a massive Bethesda RPG now feels like signing up for a second job. You know it's going to take 60, 80, maybe 100 hours, and part of your brain immediately starts calculating. Is this worth it? Will I even finish this? What if I drop it halfway? When you were younger, you didn't think like that. You didn't care if you finished games. You didn't care if you were optimal. You didn't care if it was the best use of your time, because time didn't feel scarce. Now it does. And when time feels scarce, you gravitate toward comfort. That's why so many of us replay games we played before for the 10th time, instead of starting something new. It's familiar, low risk, no mental onboarding. New games feel like effort. Old games feel like home. That alone changes how you experience gaming. It's not simply that games got worse. It's that your relationship with time changed. And time never changes. Next one. We watch games more than we play them. There's another uncomfortable truth. A lot of us experience games through content before we ever touch them. Think about it. Before you buy a game, you've probably already watched a review, watched a build guide, watched a streamer play the first 5 hours, seen the ending recommended on your homepage, and seen thumbnails with major spoilers. By the time you launch the game, you already know half of it. The mystery is gone. Back in the 2000s, if you wanted to know what happened in a game, you had to play it. Or maybe ask your friend who played it. There was no YouTube breakdown of the secret ending 5 minutes after release. Now, the algorithm shows you the final boss before you even leave the tutorial. And here's what surprises me, but it's been proven to be true. Sometimes watching the game scratches the itch. You don't even feel the need to buy it anymore. You consume the highlights. You consume the best moments. You consume the emotional peaks. And then when you finally try to play it yourself, it feels less intense. Because you already saw the payoff. Gaming became entertainment twice over. First, as a player, then as a viewer, and the viewer version is faster, cleaner, and curated. So when you sit down to actually play, it can feel less stimulating because your brain has been trained to expect highlight reels. That's very, very different from how we grew up. And here's another thing that's different from how we grew up. We've become so much harder to impress. This one's simple. We've seen too much. The first time you saw ragdoll physics, mind blown. The first time you saw a dynamic weather system, Unreal. The first time you entered a seamless open world. Revolutionary. And now, those are baseline expectations. The bar moved, graphics improved, worlds got bigger, systems got deeper, but your standards moved with them. So what once would have been incredible is now solid. And solid doesn't create obsession. It creates mild appreciation, which makes it harder for a game to grab you the way older ones did. And that brings me to the last one. Nostalgia is lying to you. This one's uncomfortable. You miss the game, sure, but you also miss who you were when you play it. Maybe even more than the game itself. You miss having fewer responsibilities. You miss playing with the same friend group every night, not thinking about productivity, not thinking about value, not thinking about time. You miss context. A lot of the magic wasn't the mechanics. It was the life phase. So when you boot up a remaster in 2026 and it doesn't hit the same, it's because you changed, not the game itself. That doesn't mean you can't enjoy new games. It just means they're competing with memory. And memory is unfair competition. So what do you do about it? If it's harder to find a game you like now, that doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means you might need to change how you approach gaming. Here are a few thoughts that might help you enjoy games more. First, stop optimizing immediately. Don't Google the best build. Don't research the meta. Let yourself make inefficient choices. You don't need to squeeze maximum value out of every mechanic. Let some mystery exist. Next, play shorter games. I mean it, not every experience needs to be 100 hours. There are incredible 8-12-hour games that respect your time and still leave an impact. Sometimes the problem isn't quality, it's scale. Also, try to commit to one game at a time. Choice overload disappears when you eliminate choice. Pick one. Play it. Don't browse alternatives mid-session. Immersion requires commitment. And lastly, accept that your taste evolved. Maybe you don't love the same genres anymore. Maybe competitive games exhaust you now. Maybe giant open worlds feel repetitive. That's fine. That's growth. Your preferences shifting doesn't mean gaming died. It means you're not the same person who fell in love with it. Here's the reality. Gaming in 2026 isn't objectively worse. Yes, it's turned more into a business, it's more corporate, it's more greedy, but in terms of game quality and quantity, it isn't worse. It's bigger, louder, more complex, more commercialized, but it's also deeper, more ambitious, and more accessible than ever. The struggle to find something you love isn't because there's nothing good. It's because you're more aware, more experienced, more selective. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe it just means when you do find something that clicks, it'll mean even more. And so, if you're still here, maybe the real solution is to not chase the feeling you had at 14. Maybe it's to find a new one.